We're going to get back into our outdoor comm series, this time taking a look at a ham radio. We're going to take a look at the Retevis RA89 handheld. Check it out. Hey guys, I'm Kevin with Kemp Outside, your inside source for all things outside. You know, one of the things that I really enjoy is ham radio, and I really enjoy using ham radio outside. Ham radio is a great way to communicate when you're outdoors. Now, it does require a license. It does require taking an exam to pass. So if you aren't ready for ham radio, there are other great options. I have videos on FRS radios, on MERS radios, on GMRS radios. So check those out. But if you want to take outdoor comms to the next level, something that you're really interested in, you might want to check out ham radio. And so I have a video on should you become a ham radio operator. And I'm going to put a link to it right up here that discusses all the reasons why you ought to consider ham radio if you're an outdoorsman. Okay, aside from all that, probably if you're watching this video, you're either interested in becoming a ham radio operator or you already are one, and so you want to just get right into the review. So let's do that. So this is a handheld radio from Retevis or Retevis. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I don't know which one is correct. Retevis is a Chinese radio company, so just keep that in mind. There are options out there for both Chinese and Japanese radios. Chinese radios tend to be a little bit cheaper, tend to be a little more function rich, while Japanese radios tend to be more expensive and a little higher quality in terms of what you get. I have to say though, guys, there are some fantastic Chinese radios on the market. So don't let anybody tell you that if it's Chinese, it's junk, because that is not true. And in this case, I really like this radio so far. So let's go over it. So I have my iPad right off screen here. I'm just going to refer to it so I make sure I get this right because it's really important. So Retevis claims that this is a 10-watt dual band radio. So it operates on the 2-meter ham band as well as the 70-centimeter ham band. Oftentimes you also hear that referred to as 440. All right, so, and it says it transmits 10 watts. That's a lot for a handheld. We're going to put it on the meter and see how it does. I often have a little bit of concern about transmitting high-power handhelds close to my face because I don't like to boil my eyeballs. But if you wanted to attach a speaker mic and put this down on your belt or something like that, it's probably not that big a deal. And if you're not doing a lot of transmitting, an occasional 10 watts to the face probably isn't going to kill you. I just really like my vision. So anyway, just something to keep in mind. It is an IP68 dustproof and waterproof rated radio. So when you see a double-digit IP rating, the first number is the dustproof level and the second number is the waterproof level. So it is equipped with a level 6 dustproof and a level 8 waterproof radio. So IP68 is pretty good. All that to say that if you are out using this and it starts to rain, you probably don't have much to worry about. I wouldn't necessarily submerge this radio, but it does have a pretty good waterproof rating. The other thing that I've noticed about this radio is the size of the battery, guys. It has a honking battery on the back of that radio. So it should last a long time. Although when you're transmitting at high power, it's going to consume the battery. So that's just something that you have to consider. The radio will last longer the less you talk and the more you listen, right? And that's just true of any radio that operates on battery power. The other thing that I want to mention is that it comes with a variety of things. It comes with, at least in this pack that I'm reviewing, it comes with a standard antenna that is a dual band antenna, and the battery is USB-C rechargeable, which I really like. So the radio also comes with a USB-A to USB-C charging cable. It comes with a cradle, so you can dock the radio into the cradle, like the way you always would, and charge it that way. But you just plug the USB-C cord into the cradle. So you don't have to use this, but you can if you want to. It comes with a wrist strap, which I always recommend, especially if you are putting radios on children. You stick this on your wrist, and hopefully when they come back, the radio comes back too. Doesn't always happen though. Here's the bummer. For this radio, it's shipped with a belt clip. Fantastic. Guess what it didn't ship with? Screws. I guess I gotta go to a hardware store? I don't know. Actually, this isn't even my radio, by the way, guys. My buddy Rob bought this radio and is allowing me to do a review, so I want to say thanks to him. So I did not spend my own money on this, but Retevis didn't send it to me, right? My buddy Rob spent his own money on this, so I'm going to tell Rob whether he got a good radio or not in this video. So that's a bummer, right? He's either going to have to contact Retevis and say, hey, send me some screws, or he's going to have to go to a hardware store and find some tiny little screws that fit. One other thing that I do like about this is that the belt clip attaches to the radio and not to the battery. So some batteries, let me get this off here. So as you can see, the belt clip attaches to the radio. Some radios have belt clips that attach to the battery. So if you buy extra batteries, you have to buy extra belt clips. It's just a whole racket. It's a way to get more money out of you, I swear. So it's always good when the belt clip attaches to the radio. Okay, rant over. Let me see how I can get this thing back on. This is a very interesting clip mechanism. You press down on this, that pops that open, and then the battery comes up. I had to figure that out. So interesting way that works, but it clips on really good. All right, so that is the basics of that radio. It's really, really simple on-off knob. It has the flashlight like every Chinese radio, right? Which, let's see, there it is, on and off, right? It has one PTT, it has two side keys, it has a number pad, a menu button, an A/B switch. You know, it's dual watch, I think. I'm guessing that when one channel peaks up, it mutes the other one. So not true dual receive, but dual watch. And the display is nice, right? It has a nice light up display, pretty easy to see. It's not full color. It's just a simple, just a simple monochromatic screen, LCD screen, I think. So, but really easy to see. I like that. It's easy to use. Let's stick this thing on a power meter and then test it for spurious emissions. All right, guys, so I hope you can see this. I have the lights turned off, so hopefully you can see the screen. Right up there is where we're going to see the power. So it is set on 146.520 megahertz, which is the 2 meter calling frequency. The radio is set at high power. And so let's go ahead and hit the button. We're going to be transmitting into a dummy load. There we go. So we are testing the transmit power, and it is putting out 11.57 watts. So over 10 watts on 2 meters. That's pretty good. All right, let's switch over to 440. So we're going to transmit on 446.0 megahertz, right in the middle of the 70 centimeter band. And here we go. So as we transmit there, we're putting out 10.15 watts on high power. Wow, that is a powerhouse. I'm going to switch back here. I'm going to go to power, and I am going to drop it down to low. Okay, so now we're on low power on 2 meters. And it's transmitting 2.4 watts on 2 meters. So it also has a mid setting, so let's try that. Enter, escape. All right, and here's mid. Mid is transmitting 6.7 watts on 2 meters. Let's check 70 centimeters. So we are going to go to low. Enter, escape. Still learning these menu things. So this is low power on 70 centimeters. Low power is 2.25 watts. All right, let's go to mid. Escape. Okay, here is mid power on 70 centimeters. And it looks like it is transmitting 5.96 watts, almost 6 watts of power. Fantastic transmit power out of this radio, guys. I am super excited to see that the radio actually does what they advertise it will do. Now it's time to test for spurious emissions. Okay guys, so now we are going to test the spurious emissions on the 2-meter ham band. We don't need to test for 440. We do need to test for 2 meters. So I have the Tiny SA set up so that it is basically ready to go. What we're going to do here is we're going to transmit on mid power. I chose mid power because I didn't want to blow up the Tiny SA. And what we're going to do is we're going to see a spike, and that will be our fundamental frequency, our 146.52 megahertz. And then we're going to see harmonics of that. And any of those harmonics need to be below this blue line that you can see on the graph, hopefully. Any harmonics that are above that blue line means that this radio has failed. So here we go. We're going to give it a shot and see what happens. Now, it takes a while for the Tiny SA to work its way out. So if you see some spurs, don't worry about it. To begin with, we're going to transmit for a little bit and see what happens. So as you can see, the first fundamental is the only one above the blue line so far. And as it works its way up, you can see that we do have our second harmonic is negative 42 dB down. Our third harmonic is negative 44, negative 45 dB down. Our fourth harmonic is negative 50 dB down. And our fifth harmonic is about 65 dB down. So while this radio is putting out some spurious emissions, it is putting out spurious emissions below the threshold. They are at least 40 dB below the fundamental, and they're also below, I think it's like 25 microwatts or whatever it is. That's what that blue line indicates. So this radio passes. It's not the cleanest radio I've ever seen, but it does pass. It meets FCC's expectations. All right, guys, let's get into some final thoughts. Number one is, I forgot to mention, it does come with a manual. I don't really ever spend much time looking at manuals. You might really get into it, but it does have a pretty extensive manual, and it looks pretty good. So I think that's good. So let's talk about frequencies. So a lot of Chinese radios are completely unlocked, meaning if you can receive it, you can transmit on it in a lot of cases. That's not the case with this Retevis. So this is locked to the ham bands, which in the United States is 144 to 148 megahertz, that's 2 meters, and then 420 to 450 is the 70 centimeter band, right? Some countries it's 430 to 440, but we get 420 to 450 here in the States. And this radio is locked to that, meaning if you type in a MERS channel or a GMRS channel or an FRS channel or a Marine VHF channel and hit the transmit button, it won't transmit. That's probably a good thing. But here's the weird thing. You type in those frequencies, it won't hear them either. It will display it on the screen, but it won't hear it. It won't hear it if it transmits. So you can press and hold some keys on this radio, which you can find on the internet. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but you can find it on the internet. And you can completely unlock this radio so that it will receive and transmit anything you want. And guys, quite honestly, I would do that, right? Because there's plenty of things to listen to, and listening to them is not illegal in any way, right? So you can receive NOAA weather radio. You can listen to MERS. You can listen to GMRS. You can listen to FRS. You can listen to Marine VHF. You can listen to a number of other, frequencies. But the problem with that is it means you can also transmit on those frequencies. So you have to be very, very careful that you're not transmitting on frequencies that you shouldn't transmit on. And so I wasn't crazy about the fact that you have to unlock the radio to receive the frequencies, right? You should be able to receive a broad range of stuff without having to unlock a radio. And then if you want to transmit on those frequencies, legal or not, if you want to transmit on them, then you're taking a step to do it. But if you just want to listen, you have to unlock the radio just to listen. And then you run the risk of hitting the button accidentally and transmitting on bands or frequencies you shouldn't. Now, if you watch my channel, you know that when I go hiking, I run ham radio and I run GMRS on the same radio, right? And I do that because when I'm out hiking, I'm not going to carry two radios. I'm just not. I just think that's stupid. I'm licensed for GMRS. I'm licensed for ham radio. I'm going to do both on one radio. I just am. Is that technically against the rules? Yes. Do I think it's against the spirit of the rules? Well, no. And you might disagree. You can do you. I am not your mother. I'm not going to tell you what to do. What I am telling you is that I'm warning you that if you unlock this radio to use it on GMRS, FRS, MERS, Marine VHF, if you unlock it to operate on those frequencies, understand that that means you can transmit on frequencies you shouldn't transmit on, right? So just be cautious. If you're unlocking it just to even listen to those, be aware that if you unlock it to listen, you're unlocking it to transmit, right? Just be aware. Hey guys, when I was editing this video, I decided that I needed to demonstrate what I'm talking about. And basically, I am going to show you how to unlock the radio because I think the ability to receive NOAA weather channels is worth unlocking the radio and running the risk that you transmit on a frequency you're not authorized to transmit on. So let me just show you this, guys. And basically, what I have programmed into the radio right now is NOAA weather channel number 1, right? And as you can see, you can't hear a thing, right? Because the radio is locked, right? So it's not receiving that frequency. Now, let me tell you how I did this. When I first got these radios, because I know they were chirp programmable, I went ahead and programmed the radio without unlocking it. My understanding is that if you just turn the radio on out of the box and you type in the NOAA weather channel, it won't pull that up. It'll just put you back in band. But when you program the radio in chirp, you can program radios and they'll display on the screen, but you won't receive them or be able to transmit on them. So I'm going to show you how to unlock this radio. I'm going to leave it on NOAA 1, right? I'm going to turn the radio off. Okay, you hold side key 2 and the number 9, and then you turn the radio on.
Air Force Base.
There you go.
Brookville, 59 at Plant.
Receiving NOAA weather.
58 at Windsor Haven, and 59 at Bardo.
Now, if you ever want to turn it back, my understanding is you hold side key 2, the number 7, and turn the radio on, and that will lock the radio back to its original lock settings. So, guys, I'm uncomfortable with this part of the radio because you should be able to receive anything you want. There's nothing wrong with being able to receive radio frequencies. What is bad is when you transmit on something you shouldn't transmit on, right? And I'm not talking about using this radio to transmit on GMRS or using this radio to transmit on MERS. You can make that decision for yourself. What I'm talking about is accidentally wanting to listen to, police or fire or NOAA weather radio or the Marine band, right? And you accidentally hit the button and step on whoever's transmitting, whether that's the Coast Guard or the police or the fire department or whatever. You accidentally hit the button and then now you're potentially interfering with their radio operations. That's a bad thing. So here's what I recommend, right? Because you can do this in Chirp. And if you're not familiar with Chirp, Chirp is a programming software that allows you to program radios. And radios that are Chirp compatible, you just get a cord, you connect it to your computer, you run the software, and then you're able to input all the channels you want to transmit on and receive right into the radio, and it makes it a whole lot easier. This radio has, I think, 200 memory channels, right? So you don't want to enter all those in manually on the face of the radio. That would take forever. It's a whole lot easier to create it in the software on the computer and then just download it to the radio. So what I recommend is that in Chirp, you put the receive frequency for the stuff you want to receive, whether that's your local police department if they're still using analog, which most aren't. Most are using digital now, so most of the time you won't be able to hear them, but just in case. Or you want to listen to, Marine VHF, or you want to listen to NOAA weather radio, right? What you can do is you can set the receive frequency in Chirp, and then you can set the transmit frequency to be something else entirely. And so what I recommend that you do is that you pick a frequency in the 2-meter band or the 440, 70 centimeter band that you are legal to transmit on, right? That way you can listen to those frequencies, but if you hit the transmit button accidentally, you bump into it. Oops, I just transmitted, right? If you do that, it automatically transmits the radio on a frequency you're licensed to transmit on. So if it transmits in the ham band and you're a ham radio operator, all you have to do is give your call sign. Hey, KB8WPD accidentally hit the PTT switch, right? And you're done, right? You didn't cause any problem because you transmitted in a band that you are legally allowed to transmit in. So that's what I do, right? You can do whatever you want, but I would at least either try to turn off the transmit ability for things that you really don't want to transmit on, and then leave the rest of them on, right? A few other things that I want to mention in this radio, because I forgot to mention it in the video. It is a 2500 milliamp hour battery, right? That big honking battery it's got on this thing. So that's a nice size battery. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is, I had mentioned before that it has an IP68 rating for dustproof and waterproof. Retevis claims that with that rating, you can submerge this radio in 1 meter of water for up to an hour. You can risk that if you want. I stand by, I don't submerge radios unless I have to, right? So also keep in mind that if you change out the antenna, if you replace the stock antenna, a lot of times the stock antennas have a really good tight seal around the connector, right? They have like this nice little rubber gasket or whatever. If you change that out to a different antenna, that could be a water intrusion point, right? I don't run the stock antennas on my radios. I switch them out to a higher quality, higher performing antenna, but I don't expect that antenna connection is completely waterproof after I do that. So keep that in mind. If you run it in the stock configuration, Retevis says you can submerge this radio up to 1 meter for an hour. If you change anything else, or you don't have the battery in all the way, or you have something connected into, you have a speaker mic connected in, there's all kinds of things, right, that compromise the waterproofness of a radio. So that's just my advice. All right, back to the conclusion of the video. Am I crazy about the spurs? No, I'm not, right? That transmitter could be cleaner than it is. It certainly passes FCC standards, and I don't think it's going to cause any problems out there, right? As a matter of fact, I don't think, for the most part, spurious emissions cause much, if any, issues. However, there is a potential to create issues, and so I think that as radio operators, it's our responsibility to operate clean transmitters. This passes FCC's requirements, and so therefore, it's good with me. I wish it was a little cleaner. The last thing that I'll say is that you shouldn't ship a radio with a belt clip without belt clip screws, right? So that is a small mistake, but it is a major hassle for someone who gets a radio and wants to use it and wants to clip it to their belt or their pack or whatever and can't, and they have to go to a hardware store and find tiny little screws to screw that in, or take the time to contact Retevis and have them send screws. So that's an issue. Other than that, guys, it's well built. It's heavy, right? I mean, you're gonna know your radio's there if you clip it to your belt and carry it for any distance. You better have a good belt or it's gonna pull your pants down. Great battery, great transmit power. All in all, I think it's a decent radio, but it does have its character flaws. So I'm going to put an affiliate link below where you can pick up one of these guys. If you use my link to purchase, it doesn't cost you anything extra. It's a great way to support my channel as I get a little commission on the sale. I really do like Retevis. And as a matter of fact, guys, if you're carrying a lot of radios into the field, they have a fantastic radio carry bag that'll carry up to 9 handhelds. And I'm going to put a link to that right up here, my video review of that bag, because that thing is awesome. And I don't think many people actually know about it. It's a sweet, sweet bag. But if you're looking for a decent high-powered handheld at a low cost with a few things that you can definitely, work around, I recommend the Retevis. I think it's a good one, the RA89. Retevis could make a few changes. Maybe, I don't know if they can change the firmware to allow the radio to receive without transmit. If they could make a few minor changes, this would be a great radio. As it stands, I think it's a good radio. So if you want one, grab one. If not, check out my channel. I've got other radio reviews. You can check those out. Guys, if you have any questions at all about ham radio, about GMRS, FRS, MERS, Marine VHF, if you have any questions about using radios for outdoor communications, I'm your guy. Drop me a comment below or hit me up on my other social media. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X. I'd love to chat with you. I just had a conversation with a guy in California who was looking at the fires and saying, you know, I need backup comms that don't rely on cell service. He was asking me, Kevin, what can I do? You know, he's talking about how his family is, 2 miles this way and 1 mile that way, but there's some elevation distance, so line of sight comms from VHF or UHF might work, maybe MERS, maybe GMRS, but there's a lot of GMRS traffic. So, I was working with him to kind of test some solutions to see what would happen. And I love that stuff, guys. So if you have questions, drop me a comment. I will do my best to try and help you or try to steer you in the right direction, because I want you to have comms that work. I don't want you to buy stuff that doesn't work for you, guys. And there's a lot of false advertising out there that says, oh, get this radio and you can talk anywhere in the world. Well, some of those radios, you can only talk if you have cell signal, right? In the California wildfires or Hurricane Helene that hit North Carolina, you take out the cell towers and those radios are dead as a doornail, right? So they don't work. So you got to look at different options. If you have any questions about any of that stuff, guys, I'd love to work with you. So drop something in the comments below or hit me up on my social media and we can chat about it. Guys, I'm Kevin with Kemp Outside, your inside source for all things outside. We exist to help moms and dads take their kids camping, hiking, fishing, learn about nature, and develop a conservation ethic. We want to help you get you and your kids outside. One of the things that I know to be true is that some of the best places to be outside are places where your cell phone won't work. And if you need to keep in contact with the group you're with, other people, call for help, respond to a call for help, you need to have a communications plan that goes beyond your cell phone. That's why we're covering all of this stuff with ham radio, with FRS, with GMRS, with MERS, all the different radio services out there. We want you to be informed so that you can make the best choice for you, for your family, for your friends, whether you're overlanding, off-roading, hiking, fishing, camping, whatever you're doing. We want you to have all the information you need to make a comms plan for you, your family, and your group. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that little bell icon that notifies you when we release new videos so you won't miss a thing. We've got a lot of content on a whole bunch of stuff. Camping, hiking, fishing, outdoor content, gear reviews, campground reviews, a whole lot more. So definitely I hope you will stay right here. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.